with this video we're going to be working on the buttock muscle and the muscles around the outside of the hip, the back of the hip and down the side of the leg. We're basically doing an active straight leg raise while lying on our side. So first of all we need to think about our positioning, and we're going to think about the positioning of the spine first of all. So think of a raspberry underneath your rib cage. You're going to try and lift the rib cage away from the raspberry so you're not squashing it into the floor, and that's going to straighten up your spine. Now once you're in that position, you're going to keep your bottom leg bent and straighten off the top leg. Good, flexing that foot so it's at 90 degrees, and then lifting the leg, keeping the toes pointing forwards as you lift as high as you can, and then lowering back down. Good, and you're going to keep lifting and lowering. And ideally what you want to be doing is as you lift you want to be exhaling, and as you lower down you want to be inhaling. So you're going to inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up. And remember that when you exhale, you want to draw your tummy inwards as if you're pulling your rib cage up towards this top hip. And that's going to stabilise your spine and your pelvis as you lift the weight of the leg. And you'll be using all these muscles through the back of the leg and into the core to help you produce that movement. Now you want to make sure that the hips stay stacked on top of the other, one on top of the other, so that you're not rolling the hips backwards in any way. Now you can make that work slightly more into rotation, so you can point the toes up towards the ceiling and then lift the leg from there and lowering back down. Good. So you're leading with your toes and pointing those toes up towards the ceiling. That's going to rotate the hip, but as you rotate the hip, just make sure that you're not pushing backwards with those hips. You're not allowing that hip to fall backwards. You're keeping them stacked one on top of the other. Excellent, good. Now another way of making that more challenging is if we straighten the bottom leg as well. Now we've been using the bottom leg in the previous part of the video for a little bit of balance and support. So now if we're lying directly onto our hip, it can be a little bit uncomfortable on the bony part of the hip. So if you need to, you can place a towel rolled up or a folded cushion, something like that to soften the mat so that it doesn't hurt your hip. But now that we've got both legs straight out, we're a little bit more unstable, so it's much easier for those hips to rock forwards and backwards. So we're going to set ourselves up again. We're going to lift our rib cage away from the raspberry slightly, and on the exhale we're going to tighten the core and pull the tummy in towards this top hip, and then lift that top leg. And back down. So again, as you lift, if it's shaking or shivering or you're struggling to keep that position, just lift as far as you can and keep repeating it. As the muscle gets stronger in your hip, you will find that this exercise becomes less jerky. Good, and you can add that rotation in with this exercise as well, so turning the foot to point towards the ceiling and lifting up will work a slightly different area of the buttock and the hip, and make it a little bit more challenging to keep the hips stacked one on top of the other and relaxing down there. And once you've relaxed off, it's bending both those knees up in front of you, taking a little bit of pressure off that bottom hip so that it feels more comfortable. And obviously if you're going to do that for the other leg, you flip over, you turn onto the other side, and you do exactly the same process, but resting down onto the opposite hip. So see how you go. Aim for about 10 to 15 of those before you progress on to anything more difficult. But you should find that as you persevere with this exercise, the movement becomes less jerky, and you should find that you become a lot stronger in your upright positions like walking and running, going up and down the stairs and getting in and out of a chair or in and out of the car. So see how you get on, and try to fit that in a good 3 times a week if you can.